Hey everybody, Jamie Starr here for the New World News Network. Today we're going to talk more music than politics, but the two are sort of intertwined together. So as I'm sure you've seen, this video is called "A Genius and a Tool Go on a Podcast." And I know most people are probably still reeling over the Tim Dillon, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan podcast, which was amazing. I'm a huge fan of Tim Dillon, obviously a huge Alex Jones fan. So having them both together, and it's funny because Rogan said he felt like the voice of reason, but really Tim Dillon was, because Tim Dillon was the one that kept just calmly being like, no, what Alex is saying is right. Like, this is like common knowledge, right? You don't need to fact check him. But right before that, I had a sort of interesting playlist of videos come my way. I did a shift at my one job, and I noticed Rogan had both Maynard James Keen of Tool, Puscifer, A Perfect Circle on, and Kanye West. And there's this really stark contrast between the two. Now, first I saw a Corbett report, and I'll just throw this out there. The guy on the Corbett report doing the talking, let's see, which tab is it? This one. Well, you'll see him in a second, but I always think it's funny because my boss at this job says that guy really, that I remind him of him, or he reminds him. You know what I'm saying. So anyway, it was just really interesting because, as we'll see in these clips I have, the guy points out how there are plenty of these bands and groups that market themselves as political, and they're there to give an important message and all this stuff, and they're these bands that have these odd 4 to 8 year gaps on their record releases. For some reason. I mean, Tool is infamous for this. 9 Inch Nails. See, 9 Inch Nails has been so busy between The Fragile and Downward Spiral, and then there was just Ghost, and it seemed like it was just endless output. So they had a dry spell. But Tool is one of these bands where it's like they only come around every so often. And I think it's part of their gimmick. Like, they have this overly pretentious, everything about it is just, it's just all packaged in this way of, well, you aren't enlightened enough to really understand what's going on, so just sit back and admire. So, Tool has a lot of good records. I'm not going to sit here and say their music sucks, but what I'll say about the music is, so much of it is the band members. And this is a shame. Marilyn Manson is a lot like this too. Marilyn Manson does the same shtick on every record, but if you listen to the production between like Antichrist Superstar to Mechanical Animals, which is a production masterpiece, to then when, I don't know, he was like guest starring on Walking Dead or one of these shows, and then he kind of did his Puscifer, I want to be Johnny Cash while still going, like, God knows. But it's the band members that make it what it is. Like Tool, all of that, like all that weird timing stuff. It's your drummer, it's your guitars, it's your basses. Maynard being like, I have loved the bullshit. He's not doing anything. He's doing the same thing any other singer in any of these bands could do. Some do it with a little more flair, a little more style, but with Maynard, it's like, I'm trying not to be a hypocrite, and what I'm thinking about right now is Scott Weiland, because Scott Weiland, he had his shtick, and his shtick was just kind of like balls. I'm gonna go out here dressed up like Gwen Stefani, and I'm just gonna be like, so it's, I don't want to say something disparaging towards Maynard that then could easily be applicable to a bunch of singers I like. But the thing about Stone Temple Pilots is they were just sort of like, we're a rock band. They're not having to have all of this esoteric, DMT artwork, which the guy who paints these for them lives like 50. His Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, Cosm, is like 10 minutes from my house. Never been to any of the events there. Have been invited, but just not my scene. So again, the whole packaging of it, like I said, it's very much this, grandiose, oh, well, we're so enlightened, and, you may not be enlightened enough to understand it, but you can admire it. Even the Puscifer website is all of this same imagery, all very, you guys know what I'm getting at. So anyway, existential reckoning. Oh, like that doesn't sound like a fucking like climate change warning or something. Like, I'm so sick of everything being so grand and big. Like, that's really the problem with things. I say this about like these shootings that happen where I'm like, oh, some black dude in Philly got shot. Why is that my business? Oh, well, the cars and the CO2, I don't drive. Why is this my business? And it's continually this, well, we need to rope you in. It's existential. The sky is falling. Like, just not with it. So this one is the prelude video to the one we're going to get into. I haven't watched this one yet. It might just be a little tidbit. So let's check this out.
Slaves. And of course, let's not leave out Tool. New record for the Orange Man era. Hadn't heard anything from them for a decade plus. Remember, during the Obama drone bombing years, what was Maynard and Tool doing? They're doing their country yuck yuck band because it's all fun and games. Of course, when there's a D after their name. How's the Prophets of Run the Rage Against the Audio Slave reunion that again was supposed to be perfectly timed for election year rage, but of course they got scamdemicked. James, there is a terrible new Public Enemy song with the surviving Beastie Boys.
All right, so that was just that little clip, and now here we're going to get into what happened after that, because I guess the guy caught some flack for bringing up Tool. So now let's see that bit.
They essentially said, "Why'd you bash Maynard and Tool? He's political. Here's this video link." So one, I didn't say Tool were never political. I said they only get political and see war crimes when it has a R after their name. And I think I laid that out pretty well last week, that some of these bands actively did not release any music during the 8 years of the Obama administration. They don't say squat when it's a fake left Pepsi in the White House. And apparently, A Perfect Circle looks like they did the exact same thing as Tool. A Perfect Circle being essentially one of the side projects of Maynard and Tool and that whole scene. So they sent me this video. Who is on that video thumbnail they sent? Is that Obama? Wait, I'm pretty sure that's Baby Bush, the evil Republican. Counting bodies like sheep to the rhythms of the war drums. The video link they sent me is to a 2009 video upload, mere weeks, of course, after Obama's inauguration, of a song from their 2004 album. The whole wiki entry basically talks about how mad they were at Bush and how their 2004 album, Emotive, released on Election Day. The whole album is about evil fake right. So then, and again, this is not difficult to document. You can find it all in Wikipedia entries. You can see album release dates and tours and things. It's not a hidden musical, industry secret. What do immediately after Obama gets elected? They basically are a greatest hits act. They played live shows like crazy throughout the Obama years. Of course, not saying anything about politics, and certainly not releasing a brand new album. Oh, but when does their brand new Perfect Circle album come out? 2018, the era of Orange Man. And what is the title of that album? Eat the Elephant, as if it could be any more on the nose about eating the evil sort of Republican symbol. So I guess in some ways, I'm sorry, I only kind of made fun of Tool and Puscifer, their sort of country side project, as there was so much more hypocrisy to mention, you guys. And the other thing I think, too, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say Puscifer here on New World Next Week. I imagine, I would bet they couldn't get away with being Puscifer right now. I imagine they would get canceled because all the songs are sort of, offensive to women. And that's okay when Obama's in office. So the other disappointing target I wanted to.
All right, and I just want to say, I really want everyone to check out all these videos, because you know he goes through like LP, Run the Jewels, and stuff like that. So let's see what Maynard had to say. First off, let me just say, this podcast is boring. Like, for some, I mean, him showing this thing where a Perfect Circle or whoever did their, you know, video performance thing, that's cool. Let's see, an hour or two. I don't think. I'm sorry, guys. I'm messing up my my timestamps here.
Decision maker, all these different
people that can so readily.
They're the same person. They're the same people, and we're in the middle going. I just.
So sitting there, like if you're an observer watching this, like God, we gotta get out of here. Like this is gonna blow.
Yeah, I think you start to default back to.
Okay, so that is the spot I want. Now what was I saying? Oh yeah, in the videos he goes through like LP, who friends of mine that are music producers put me onto them. You know, really good production stuff. Again, they're one of these against the establishment things that now has like endorsements from Coca-Cola and major record label distribution. And this was something that was very hard for me to get over as a musician, where I needed to really separate the artist from the art. You know, even like Kurt Cobain was a huge feminist, big pro-abortion. Doesn't make me like Nirvana any less. But I'm not looking to a guy whose lyrics are like a mosquito, my libido, to try to enlighten me in some sort of, political manner. So, again, sorry I don't have my other monitor going right now, so I keep muting myself, but let's listen to a man.
The position of, okay, well, I'm just gonna step back and just see, in my lifetime, what haven't we seen? Okay, well, in my lifetime, we haven't seen a female black president. So if you're voting for Biden, in a way, you have to be a little honest about it. You're actually voting for Kamala Harris because it's very possible she's going to be the next president.
Possible.
You're right.
So, did you guys peep the deepness? Oh my God. What haven't we seen? Black vagina. We haven't seen it in the presidency. Wow. I mean, and this is the trick that Tool and some of these other bands do. When Maynard has his hair done like a nutcase, and you know he's covered himself in blacklight paint, and there's all of these, you know, intricate paintings, and it's very much a what are you seeing, not what's substantial. So I mean that was his grand political breakdown there. And I mean the rest of this is about them talking about martial arts and wine and, you know, like hobbies they're both interested in, but there was nothing in here that made me think, oh, this guy is interesting. Like, I mean, it's like a conversation you could have with like any guy that runs a wine place and has like a band on the side or something. Like, and it's amazing because like Joe Rogan is like continually like, well, how do you have time for it all? How do you? And he asked Kanye the same question. Meanwhile, Kanye's list is like, yeah, I'm trying to build a superpower, supernova, water-powered hydrocharger to grow food and cotton so I can make my own sneakers while having a board seat on a like. And that's what really like hit me when I listened to both of these back to back, where I'm like, this guy who's like, well, what haven't we seen? Black woman, identity politics, you know, basic bitch Democrat shit. Oh, genius. Maynard is genius. You know, and then Kanye, everyone's like, Kanye's crazy. And then, I mean, let's let's just peep some of this Kanye shit. Well, all right, what's my marker on this? 1645. Let me mute myself for you.
Train by day, Joe Rogan.
It's just like, but I don't want to go down these rabbit holes. I'm just saying, like, Michael Jackson not waking up one day, Prince not waking up one day, works, and the way the world currently works, and the influence that America has on other countries, and the way governments work. Certain production level, there's natural forms of healing about. I want to just simplify and round up kids version. I don't like the kids version thing. Like, kids need to understand how, what if the pandemic was, they lost all their parents and it was lost. The kids need to understand early how real life works. So physics is one of the anchors of the school that I'm creating. I remember, the city is all self-sustaining. So it works off of our 4 main resources: earth, wind, water, and fire. And 90% of it is running off of water with like aqueducts, like the city of Masada. And I was talking to this engineer and saying, I need the whole thing to run off of water. And he said, well, we're going to have to use solar power. And I said, I don't, and please, don't take this as any offense. I don't like solar panels. I feel that they're part of still of what Edison's idea was. I don't feel like they're really in line with what Nikola Tesla really wanted to do with alternative current. We get into the whole Tesla and what Edison did to take Tesla down, and the fact the world would probably be free by now if Tesla wasn't basically destroyed by the media that Edison controlled and the propaganda that Edison controlled. So I'm talking to my engineer and saying this needs to run completely with water, and I don't want to use a solar anyway. And he says, no, I'm saying we're going to use a mirror, and it's going to connect to a steam engine, and that's going to push the water back up. And I was like, after like screaming at the guy, I was like, look, if I had known physics, I wouldn't have been screaming at my engineer. So if we think about what we're learning in school to learn physics, to learn farming, I was talking to.
So that's just your little taste of that, and I highly recommend check out the Corbett Report, check out this podcast. You can skip the Maynard one, but that's what I'm saying. Kanye is here being like, how do I build a city that runs on water? And Maynard is like, I'm growing grapes. Like, I mean, it is just leaps and bounds beyond. Meanwhile, Kanye is the one that people look at and be like, oh, he's nuts. What is he doing? This and that. Kanye is just the definition of be the change you want to see in the world. I mean, it's amazing to me how it's like I have this 6 degrees of separation where I'm always like this close to Kanye, where it's like Cans and I remixed a bunch of his songs, got millions of views. There's no way he hasn't heard it. Then, Candace Owens shows up on the scene. People start bashing her. I do a video defending her. Then next thing you know, I'm in contact with her. But then next thing you know, she's off with Kanye. And the crazy thing is, like, years ago when I was doing all these remixes, I came up with plans for a sustainable, built out of either straw bale or Earthship-like concert hall. And I mean, if I could sit down and draw it all out for you, like, the vision is still just ingrained in my head. And I tried crowdfunding it. I had people that offered me land, but it never really picked up to come to fruition. But it's completely in line with what Kanye is trying to do here with his schools and all of this stuff. So, I mean, people now stick up their noses to this guy who's a fucking visionary and a genius. And he knows it, which is probably what people don't like about him. And meanwhile, Maynard is this basic bitch Democrat who puts on this facade of everything being extravagant and enlightening and over the top. And it's just like, well, what have we not seen? Black woman, Kamala. Like, okay, you have the same basic thought as like 50% of you're not special. That's all it really is. So that's the point I wanted to make that really became apparent is Maynard is so overhyped. So overhyped. And for as big as Kanye West is, he is extremely underrated.